Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Cool Down Room. We are your hosts, Maria, Taylor, Vicky, and Emmy, and today we are joined by our first ever guest, Dazale Choy. So Dazale is the owner and founder of two businesses, Endangered Cosmetics, a makeup brand seeking to bring awareness to the animals that need our help by creating products inspired by their beauty and donating part of the proceeds towards conservation, and the Slipstream Apparel, where she combined her love of fashion and F1 to create exciting, fashionable merchandise which celebrates the iconic moments in motorsports, past and present. Welcome.
Hi, I guess. I don't know. Am I supposed to start talking? I have no idea.
No, Emmy was supposed to start talking, but she was the only one that muted herself.
Hey, Dazale, I'm glad to have you here. Like, it feels really special for you to be our first guest. And I think I want to start with the story of how we met, which is not really that crazy. Or maybe it is, but I remember I tweeted that I was attending the race in Austin, and she responded saying that she was attending too, and I just DM'd her. From there, we just started talking because you told me you were attending by yourself, and then I told you that. At that point, actually, I met Dazale before I started talking to all of you because it was before I found Girls Across the Grid. I told her that I was going by myself too. We know the story of how we all met. And I told her we had a group chat and we were attending the Jonas Brothers concert. And she was like, oh, that's so exciting. And that's how I had her join our WhatsApp group. So
yeah, if it wasn't for Emmy, I wouldn't have known about anything, and then I wouldn't have found this community, which is really nice to know that there's a group of girls for every Grand Prix, which was nice because I was completely lost going alone, and then now I have so many friends, so it's just really fun.
Well, I'm glad that you went because I bought my ticket from you. So
see,
that's another crazy connection. So
we all ended up sitting together in turn 12 because the two people who were supposed to come with me didn't show up. It worked out great. And then I met Emmy because it was her birthday. She was going to spend her birthday alone. And then afterwards we met at the Williams pop-up.
I remember I was saving this boat for both of us, and we were like, oh my God, we're going to get in trouble because the line was huge already. And we were like, well, Dazale, you have to get here somehow. And we didn't get any trouble, but they were not looking at us with the happiest of faces. Okay, so that's the story of how you found Girls Across the Grid. But I'm curious because I don't think I remember asking you, how did you get into motorsports?
When I was really young, my dad would bring me to the Singapore Grand Prix. So he used to work for Harley Davidson, which at the time would be under the same company as Ferrari in Singapore. So his boss would give him free tickets. And back in the day, F1 wasn't popular at all. So it was actually a struggle to get people to attend the races. Back then, people were giving it out for free. My dad was trying to give it out to his relatives and stuff like that. So it was much easier to get to a race than it is now. Now it's fighting for Taylor Swift tickets. Literally. But back then, so my dad would get tickets for free from work, and then he'd just bring me along, bring my mom along. I was a little kid, and I guess I would watch the races. I'd always just fallen in love with the Red Bull cars. And then at the time, Seb was driving. So the first race the first race I attended was in 2009. And then subsequently I did one in 2010, then 2012. In 2016. Those were the first 4 Singapore Grand Prix that I attended. And that's where my love for motorsport started. And literally because of Seb. It was all because of Seb. If it wasn't for his sassiness, I think, I love him so much. And then it became a running thing because I had a friend in school who was a big Ferrari fan. And at the time I supported Seb, she supported Ferrari. And then only 2 of us would back and forth about F1. And then afterwards, I moved to the UK. I kind of had a little bit of a break because you start uni life and life changes a little bit. And then I got back into it because I finally got a TV. And I was like, oh, look, I can watch races again. And then that was literally, I think, about 2019, 2020, when things were picking up and kind of slowing down because of COVID. And then suddenly my friend told me, did you know there was Drive to Survive, like a Netflix show about F1. I had no idea. And then suddenly it came to this like whole new world. You know, I had Twitter and I was tweeting to like nobody about F1. And then afterwards I suddenly saw like women tweeting about F1. And then I was like, oh my gosh, that's like a community. So then I just tweeted out like the F1 TWT hashtag. And then suddenly like got so many replies and then realized that there was a whole other world that I had no idea existed. And then I finally felt like I found my people, because for years I'd just been talking to myself or the wall about F1 or my dad. So it was nice to have found that, because then I've met so many people. And now if I travel to other countries, I know that I will never be alone at a Grand Prix, because there will always be somebody that I can meet or connect with over there. So yeah, that's how I came to become an F1 fan.
That's great.
That's pretty exciting. And I feel like that goes in hand with how we met, because we met through Twitter. It's so random, because I was already following you because of your company. We met in Austin and then we spent this whole week together. And it's like, it's crazy how you can make friends that you cross the world that you have no idea about. And now they're like one of your like closest F1 friends.
It's like, whatever happened to stranger danger?
It's so true. I was like, some of my best friends in like every aspect of my life I met on Twitter. So
Exactly.
the world is very different than when we were kids. It's like, well, that still exists. We definitely are more open to meeting people online and then actually meeting them in real life, which I think is great. So it's actually brought people together rather than created this separation that we used to have. So I'm grateful for it, because I wouldn't know any of you guys without it.
I feel like people on Twitter are way more supportive than real life friends per se. You know, you're going through a hard time or whatever, you just kind of tweet about it and there's always somebody to talk to. I think these days, like, people online are there for you more.
Well, yeah, the landscape has changed. So with how big online presences are now, it's a lot more normalized to form those connections there, especially. And it's great being able to form connections that aren't local to people across the world as well, and kind of learn new things about other places and find people with common interests that you wouldn't necessarily find around you as easily.
Mm-hmm. The F1 fans also like change from country to country. I feel like when you go to the Singapore Grand Prix, it feels like a lot of casual fans. But then when you go to somewhere like Coda, you know that everyone who goes there and travels there purposely has like passion for it. So I feel like that's why I never really connected with anyone here, because they like, oh yeah, we know who Lewis is, we know who Max is, but like that's it. But then you go online and then all these other people who would travel for races and stuff, you connect with them more because they're like actually following it weekly, not just following it because this race so happens to be in the country that they're living in.
Mm-hmm. Which is why I kind of love the vibes that you like from Coda, because I feel like it's way different from other maybe races that I've seen around, and I'm comparing it to maybe Miami and Las Vegas. I feel like the Coda vibes are different. Of course, I haven't been to those other two races, but just what you feel when you're watching the race. I feel like those fan vibes are completely different in Coda. But now I'm curious, seeing that you've been into motorsports for a big part of your life, what got you into, like, oh, I want to start an F1 business? What sparked that idea?
So I think basically when I was younger, I didn't have that spending power. And then so when I got older, I started collecting more merch and buying it. I would like go on Depop, eBay and try to find like merch. And that's what I started to collect. And then when I went on Twitter, I literally just saw so many young fans, young female fans tweeting that there aren't any, cute merch, affordable merch and things like that. And having like the background that I did with e-commerce and things like that, I was like, look, there's like a gap that needs to be filled. There are people who can't afford the team merch. And also people complain. At that time, it was when I think McLaren changed supplier and all their things started peeling and the Aston merch started peeling. And I was like, this is really bad quality. Like, I really want to offer like good quality merchandise that people can afford, but yet isn't too loud. It's a bit more subtle. And I've always been like a fan of varsity style college jumpers. And I wanted to find something like that for myself. So I actually didn't want to start anything, but I wanted something like that for myself. And then I started going on Etsy and things like that. And I couldn't find anything. Back in, I think at that time, like before the fans started making their own merch, there literally was nothing out there that you could find, except for maybe some off-brand looking things on Redbubble or whatever. And then I was like, well, I guess I should make it. So then I made like 3 samples and then I posted it on Twitter, be like, hey, what do you guys think? I decided to start this sweatshirt. Are you guys interested? And then I just started collecting a lot of pre-orders, and then that's what kind of set that off. And then I think when I posted the Leclerc Monza one, that's when it really took off, because I think at that time Charles didn't have any other wins, so everyone held on to that very strongly. And then afterwards I started posting a bit more of like the gag ones, like Max kicking the tire in Baku, and then Seb changing the numbers. And then I think people started to like, they didn't see that elsewhere because nobody else had done it. And then they were like, oh my goodness, I can't believe someone made merch out of this moment. And then because of that, suddenly it became a business. It was just supposed to be a fan thing that I made. And then it suddenly turned into much more, which was great.
I know you mentioned you watch or you find out about Drive to Survive. Do you think that made an impact on your company? Because more people started to maybe get into F1 due to Drive to Survive. Do you feel like at some point maybe more people started like looking for merch because of this?
I definitely think so. So I feel like I started the brand at a great time before it like really took off. I think there was only 3 or 4 seasons when I started, and that was when F1 Twitter was also at a very peaceful place. This was before Abu Dhabi happened. So it was still a very very harmonious place. And then afterwards it just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But I mean, it did definitely impact it. I think nowadays, like, people, instead of wearing team kits to the races, they would wear more of like, you know, funny shirts, or people who show up at races now take it as an opportunity to take the outfit of the day, or, you know, things like that. So I think people are investing more or being a bit more unique with their sense of fashion when they're going to a Grand Prix. Now, Grand Prix fashion is a thing, not just like attending in like a jersey or team shirt, team cap. Now people are putting effort into their dressing for the Grand Prix, like day 1, day 2, day 3, etc.
Well, and also like the official team stuff is so boring and bland, and then on top of that, it's super expensive. So like I have like one official shirt, I think, and the rest is all just fan-made stuff. So I noticed at Coda too, is that there was so much just fan-made merch everywhere and a lot less of the official team stuff. I think Drive Survive has probably made a big difference on that, especially like female driven, because you don't see it as much with like the males, but with females it was a lot of fan-made stuff. So I liked that a lot.
I guess Drive to Survive also gave us a lot of memes that could be turned into interesting merch. And obviously you guys made the friendship bracelets at Coda, and Vicky with her fish. So it's like there's more unique stuff. I think back then, before Drive to Survive existed and stuff like that, or even the YouTube content, that the teams are putting more effort into producing. Back then it was literally just racing, and then what did you have? You had interviews, maybe some funny press conference bits, but like no one really referred to it or remembered it per se. And then afterwards you just, like, honestly, when I first started watching F1, I didn't know how the drivers looked. Back then they didn't even have like an intro with everyone's faces. Like, I had no idea. I just knew Seb, and I knew maybe like Felipe Massa and Lewis Hamilton, Jenson Button, and then like everyone else were helmets. I literally did not know how they looked. So I think back then it was definitely more of like, okay, you support a team, you wear their shirt. I remember my first ever shirt was like the Infinity Red Bull team shirt by Pepe Jeans. And it cost my dad like $100 back in the day, and it was like so expensive. This is my treasured shirt, but the quality back then also made it a lot like it was very worth it because they still last the test of time. They're still very good quality. But now it just feels like they're just putting it out, you know? The teams are just putting it out, and yeah, it's not as great. And also it doesn't change very much either. So why would I buy every year if it's not changing that much? Yeah.
Well, exactly. They're like almost exactly the same year to year. Like Red Bull, when was the last time they changed anything? McLaren changed a little bit this year with the whole like only orange and black and taking out blue, but I mean, it really is almost the same exact stuff year to year.
Yeah. Or like after this year, are you going to wear a V-carb shirt? I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have any for sale. Like there's no V-carb merch. They don't have anything out on the F1 site. There's like a poster that's like $70 and that's about it.
Oh my
Which is
goodness.
crazy. They've dropped the ball on that. Like we're 3 races in and there's no merch. Like what are you doing?
I guess you could only buy it at the races, I think. I saw some people wearing it.
And it sold out super quick because there was a couple people I follow on Twitter that were at the race and they were like, yeah, there was stuff the first day and that was gone after that. So there's like hardly anything out there. And there's still no hats, which is very annoying to me. I want a Danny Rick hat.
I think that everything selling out the first day should be a sign to them that people want their merch, so they should put out more merch, especially online.
F1 has not caught up to like the whole merch thing. They're still so behind on that.
Missed opportunities.
Yeah.
Especially because most of their merch is team replicas. Okay, it would be nice to have like a Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren shirt, but I don't want to always walk around looking like I'm supposed to be in Woking or in Milton Keynes, like in the factory. Like I want to enjoy what I'm wearing and be a fan in a fun way, and not a fan in I'm a cosplaying as an employee way.
That's literally why I have not bought any like team merch, because it's all just team kits. And personally, that's not my vibe.
See, I, as a hockey fan, am more along I'm fine with the team stuff, but when it comes to F1 specifically, like, I would probably only be fine with, like, a Ferrari hoodie, and that's about it. Like, I don't have any interest in, like, the shirts, the jerseys, anything like that, because they're just not. They're so expensive. They're just, you're just a walking billboard at that point. Like, I am not a fan. Not a fan.
Leave me in my Ferrari jersey walking billboard alone, Taylor.
Yo, you have the actual jersey. I'm talking about like just like their jersey shirts or whatever, their regular t-shirts. Because they don't, I hate that there's no like names on the back. I'm like, come on. Like individual stuff. Like this is a team sport, but it's still about the drivers. And that's what annoys me is there's no individual merch unless the driver has their own merch. But even then it's boring. Like Alex Albon and Lando Norris, their merch is great, but it's boring. So plain.
But then I feel like they need to catch up because, okay, I know you guys know what I'm going to say, but Max's merch is, I love it. I know he has some designs that are like, I'm not going to pay $50 for a shirt that it's like blue with a 1 here. But then he has so many, like, for every time he like breaks a record or something happens, they come up with something. There's for like every record he broke, like 100 podiums last race. And I feel like they need to notice that people are buying his merch, like, because they do like a pre-sale, like you can pre-order everything. And I feel like they need to notice that those things are selling. I love buying official merch, but it's pretty much because I buy from Max's store. Or I feel like they also need to do something for people to be interested in it, because I don't think I ever had in mind buying Williams merch. But then we had that opportunity at the pop-up to like customize our shirts. And I feel like that made the whole experience different, because we literally got I got a gray t-shirt that says Williams Racing, but I got to put like whatever like flags and my name on the back, and that made it like 10 times more special than just going and buying a random Williams shirt. So I feel like they need to realize they're missing out on a lot of things they could be doing to even have more fan engagement.
Well, and like something that hockey does really well is that kind of stuff, like the customizing things. Because I have a bunch of hoodies with whatever player I want on the back. I also have jerseys of every player that I want, my favorite players. And F1, there's just really, it's limited. I mean, it's like Max. Max does an excellent job, but that's basically it. I mean, Lewis has a little bit, and then Danny has Enchante, but we've made that very clear that it's not necessarily like about him. It's his fashion line. So that's different. Quadrant stuff for Lando is a little different too. Alex his stuff is fine, but again, it's just really expensive for it to be like AA23 on it, and that's all you get. Yeah, F1 needs to catch up on this. It's kind of ridiculous, which is why the fan-made stuff is so important.
Also, if you get like Enchanted or like Quadron, if you're not a fan, you will have no idea who owns those brands. If you are just a casual fan who has no idea about Quadron, like, how will you know that's even Lando's merch? Also, something I do see on mostly on Twitter is people complaining because they buy official team merch and it comes damaged, like it's damaged already. It's not cheap for you to send me something that's I already have to return because it's damaged. I am, like they shall say, one of those girls who are like, man, there's no cute merch like out there. Because I remember looking in 2021 looking for something for like Max merch, and all I got was a Christmas sweater that I got. I didn't find anything like any other cute merch when I was looking for it. So
You said that you created that merch for you because you didn't see any of it for you to be able to purchase. Now it's 2024. There are a lot more options online for t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, jerseys. What kind of shifts have you noticed for your own brand, for the Slipstream Apparel, with the increase of all these other small businesses starting up as well?
I definitely think that nobody has really tapped into kind of the style that I've done yet. And obviously, this is a free world. I welcome fan-made merch. I myself purchase from other fan shops as well. But I definitely do feel that it's now very saturated. It's a very saturated market. And, there's just everyone like wearing different fan-made merch. Like I said, when I go to races, I see more fan-made merch than I do official merch. So I definitely do see that in terms of like it affects my business a bit more. But I also do recognize that, like, as someone who creates the designs and stuff, that I need to adapt. For example, like I keep doing sweatshirts, and there are races that you can't wear sweatshirts to because it's too hot. So definitely working on like t-shirts and stuff, which I was doing beforehand. And I think, that break that I did have in between, because I had to move countries. I moved out like from the UK back to Singapore. That break was quite a big change back then when it was just going and stuff like that. It was completely fine. And then during that 1 and a little bit years, suddenly like there was just so much fan-made merch suddenly coming up and stuff like that I did feel a little bit of like an impact. But it's fine, we all learn, and it's always good to have competition. But yeah, I think that's what like I felt the most.
I mean, the great thing about your merch, I haven't personally bought anything from you, but since you've been in the game for a little longer, you have rapport with customers who have previously bought from you, which will help you get more customers in compared to people who are starting out new. I know that whenever I look at Etsy shops, I look to see if people have really bought from them. I'm more likely to buy something from someone who has reviews left for them or just higher sale numbers. I feel like that can go either way, with like that being good or bad on my part as a buyer, but I know that you have like a lot of backing from those who have shopped.
I definitely did spend the time to better the quality of my sweatshirts, and I do have feedback from people saying that the new batch and stuff like that are way better stitching, better material, and things like that, which I value. So I think that's what I take pride in. It's the fact that like mine is embroidered, not printed, and it's just gonna last you longer, and it's definitely not gonna peel on you or wear down really easily. So I think out of everything, I pride myself on the quality. So it depends on the customer really what they want to purchase.
I'm a huge fan of anything embroidered, just because I feel like it does last a lot longer compared to printed items. So just know you'll probably see an order from me in the future. Next paycheck though.
I was like, I've wanted to buy the Danny Rick Monaco sweatshirt for like a long time, so it's coming. Don't worry.
Just know that when Lando gets his first podium, I need you to make a sweater of it because I will be the first one.
I will.
Already put my name down for a pre-order. Just
His first
take it.
win, his win. His first win.
Yes.
Don't worry. I do have
First win.
other stuff coming up that's not just like based on wins that everyone can purchase for their favorite driver.
I'm excited.
I'm excited.
Love embroidery.
I'm just going to throw something out there, and I think Vicky's going to like agree with me on this one. But I feel like we need to start coming up with more F2 and other motorsport series merch, because I try to look for something for Formula 2 or Formula 3, and there's absolutely nothing out there. Like, because even like you only find like teens shirts, but it's nothing like about the driver. So if I, like in my case that I support Kimi, I'm not going to get a Prema t-shirt because that doesn't even really tells you who I'm supporting. So I'm just putting it out there.
Actually, when I started this, I did think, I was like, I want to start doing F2 and F3 because I feel like the drivers there have a fan base, but not enough for the team or their own drivers to start their own merch line. So if it was possible for me to do like a capsule collection or a limited one with them, that would be the best case scenario. But it's tough. But I definitely could possibly make F2 and F3 merch.
Yeah, when you look for it, there's literally nothing out there. Like it's really sad.
I mean, even like Formula E or, you know, etc. could be.
Formula E has terrible merch options. It's just like Formula E branded merch, and then like 3 of the teams have like a hat, and that's about it. And I've really gotten into Formula E this year. It's so fun. It sounds like The Dentist, but other than that, it's so fun. And I was just like, I want something. It's like, no, I don't want this just like random hat with only an E on it. Like that doesn't mean anything.
True. So I think why I haven't yet was because, you know, I haven't actually really started watching these other series, so I don't feel like I have that knowledge to do it, but I definitely would love to work or take on feedback, or, you know, if you give suggestions on what you'd like to see, I definitely can make that happen. But I just don't want to put anything wrongly, or more of like I want the fans to really suggest what they would like to see, because I would like to make merch for the fans, not for the drivers.
Do you have any customization options?
Currently, I don't. They are made to order, but I'm working on making it possible to customize.
I think that would really help with the other series too. So you could just put in the customization like, hey, I want a Kimi sweater that says this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the thing is that, like, because I don't personally embroider myself, that's the main thing why I can't customize. But I will make it happen.
But these are good questions because lots of people don't understand all of like the back end of creating a brand and having a business like this. And especially when you do something embroidered, because I've looked into embroidering before. One, embroidery machines by yourself are stupid expensive, and you pretty much need to start off with like a very, very good one. Otherwise you're going to outgrow it very quickly, especially for a business. But it's so much like back end work into it, and it's not easy if you're using a supplier to do like the one-off things, because you don't know how it's going to work. So it's something that you have to like commit to the design that you want, unless you are doing it yourself and can test it and see if the stitching sits correctly and all of that. So,
and at the time, I think the volume of orders wouldn't have made sense if I had one machine just going. I think I would have broken that thing. So it definitely doesn't make sense for me to do it. But yeah.
Well, since you don't make the sweatshirts yourself, like embroider them, how long did it take you to find whoever does your embroidery, and how many testings did you have to do until you were finally like, this is the one?
Quite a number, I think. So previously I started the business in the UK. So the manufacturers were all in the UK, and that was very expensive. It's very expensive to manufacture in Europe, but it was the best option for me at the time. So it was just trial and error of the samples, and then they'll have to come back with me with the proofs, and then I select the threads and the colors, etc. And yeah, it's quite a lot of back and forth, but I'm so picky with how things look. And I remember one time I did the Seb jumper and they got the thread color for his beard wrong. And I was like, this cannot happen. We're not manufacturing like a bunch of them. Like, this is weird. I have to change it. And then made them change it. And yeah, I'm just so picky. I'm so picky with everything.
I feel like it's good to be picky though, because first of all, you're buying all of these things in order to sell them. It's your design. Like, you should be 100% on board with it. Like, for me, when I make a design, I have to be obsessed with it. If I don't want to put it on my laptop or like my sticker cart, I don't want to produce it and give it to other people because I'm not satisfied with it. And I think it's super, super important, even if it's just one single thread color wrong. Like, it's good to be like that, because I don't want to buy something that I'm like, oh, that's a little off. Like, I have something that was gifted to me and it's F1 themed. And it's like, it looks good, but it's like slightly off in a way. And every time I look at it, I'm like, this just feels wrong. So I think it's good to be obsessive over your designs like that.
Yes. I'm a micromanager in a good way.
We love it.
And I feel like being picky adds to the quality of it, because whenever I see a picture of any of Dazale sweater, it's like they all look amazing. You will not be saying the same thing if they look a little off. Just continue being picky because it's good for your brand.
Thanks. I think also because I'm a fan, so I know what I would like if I was purchasing from someone else. So I think that's why I'm the way I am.
But now that you mentioned being a fan, and I know we already talked about how we met in Austin last year, do you want to talk to us a little bit about the races that you've attended? I know you mentioned already a few, but now as a person like who actually attends, like as a fan, what have been like the races that you have attended?
So I've been to the Singapore Grand Prix. I've been to Austin, Coda with you guys. I went to Hungary, Monza, and then I guess Silverstone, and now Melbourne. I can add that recently. But yeah, I wouldn't say Melbourne entirely. I only went for the Thursday.
Well, out of all of them, like, which one have you enjoyed the most? And if you wouldn't go back to one, which one would it be?
Ooh. I would say that... Okay, I'm going to answer the one I wouldn't go back to first. I wouldn't go back to Silverstone. Firstly, yeah, so it's a great track and it's a great circuit to go to and great racing if you would like to go. I've been there twice and both at different times. First was before Max won Abu Dhabi and second was after he won Abu Dhabi. So the vibes are very different. If you are a Max fan, I do not recommend. But I think that it just in terms of activities that I've been to there, I wouldn't necessarily go again just because the races in other countries offer more off-track things than Silverstone. I think the space constraint they have at Silverstone does affect it. Like Coda, there was so many things to do. Melbourne, the Albert Park was huge. There's so many things to do. But Silverstone, like after going there twice, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm done. I don't really need to see it again. I would say in terms of like off-track activities being probably the worst would be Singapore. But it's my home race, so I can't say that I won't not go there again. Obviously, I'll go there again. And then I'd say my favorite one so far has to be Coda. I really enjoyed it, and I really also because I'm a country music girl, I like the yeehaw cowboy vibes. So that to me was a vibe. Yeah, and like everything at Coda was really fun. There was a lot of things to do, and the views at Coda are the best, I'd have to say. Like from every grandstand, you could just see across to the other side. Everywhere you stood, even if it was general admission, was a great view. Places like Singapore, it's a street circuit, so you can't see the other part of the track. You're only literally confined to that one part that you are at. Yeah, Monza was obviously fun because it was Ferrari land. But at the same time, the organization's not great. It's quite a pain to get in and out of the track. And where I was at the Parabolica, that's all I saw. I had no screen. I didn't know what was happening. If you asked me what happened in Monza 2022, I could not tell you, even though I was there. And then Hungary was great, actually. I really enjoyed Hungary. I had the best view, best grandstand. If I were to book again, I would book Silver 4. But the getting in and out of the track is the worst thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. To the point where, like, on the way out, the last day after race day, my friend and I wanted to book a helicopter out, and it was fully booked. That's how desperate we were to get out.
Crazy.
And instead of, obviously, the helicopter wasn't available. Taxis were too long. The bus was too long. My friend and I walked about an hour through the Hungarian fields to get to the nearest train station. And then, yet we took a train, and then we took another train, and then we had to walk half an hour back to our accommodation. It was a nightmare. But other than that, Hungary was a very fun race to go to.
So would you recommend it?
I would recommend Hungary if you want to go for the racing and for the cheap tickets, because it's really, really cheap. And for Budapest itself, the city is beautiful, and it's also one of the best places to bump into drivers outside of the track. Like in Budapest city, it's very easy to see someone.
Okay, so one question that I had for Dazale, and this is something that I remember seeing someone on Instagram talked about. But when it comes to, and I think you're talking about Hungary, how much different is it from America to Europe or Asia? Like when it comes to how they organize the whole thing, like shuttles, just the actual things happening inside. Do you think it's like a huge difference? Because I don't know if you know the girls, what's the twins? I don't remember, pit lane twins. They did say that they were in Austin in 2022, and they say like it's been the best when it comes to organization and everything. So what's your view on that?
I would say that Austin was pretty well organized, but I would say that shuttle was pretty expensive. I mean, the one that I ended up paying for from the city, which was the most convenient, but I know the one that Emmy took, like I took it with her. It was quite a long walk, and then it dropped us off, and then from there it was so hard to get like a cab or any kind of like taxi, right, when we went. So I guess for Austin it was great if you're willing to spend that extra like $150 on the shuttle. Melbourne, which I just went a couple days ago, it was so easy because they have free tram services running from the big stations to any of the gates that you wanted to go to. So that was really convenient. Singapore, I have to back my country. It is the easiest to get to the track. My country is so small. It takes you 45 to 50 minutes to drive from east to west. So our train stations are very concentrated. So you could literally get off at any train station and end up in another gate. And then I don't know if you guys remember, but there was this meme of Esteban who like DNF'd, and he had to walk through to the MRT, like our train station, to get back to the pits. So like you have to take the train, I guess. Yeah, so we're like super easy. Our trains come every 2 minutes, and you just end up like, we would literally exit the track, go to eat, come back in, like no problem. Very organized. I definitely feel like Americas and on probably like the Asian side are probably a bit more organized than Europe. Europe still hasn't really gotten there yet, but I also do know that it's based on the location of the track.
Hi guys, it's Emmy here. So sadly we had some technical issues and we had to cut the episode short. But Dazale was such a great guest and the conversation was so good that we wanted to at least post what we have. So I wanted to jump here to tell you that you can find Dazale on Instagram as I am Dazale and the Slipstream Apparel, and on Twitter as DazaleXF1 and the Slipstream A. Once again, thank you for joining us for another episode. Remember, you can find us on Instagram and YouTube as Cool Down Room Pod. That's room with 3 O's. And if you like the episode, please leave a review and we'll see you next time. Bye!